Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the latest Young Professionals Network program, K-Startup New York Mentoring Day. My name is Tara Kim, and I'm the Corporate Program Associate at the Korea Society. Tonight, we are very excited to present our program in partnership with the Korea International Trade Association, also known as KIRA. KIRA has been a keen supporter and partner of the Korea Society for a long time, and we are proud to be co-hosting the program again. To briefly introduce the Society's YPN series, since its launch in 2011, we have provided young adults with an interactive platform to develop their careers by connecting with other professionals and hearing from industry experts, as well as to grow their interest in United States and Korea relations. Fully aligned with the core values of YPN, tonight's program will be another pathway for us to empower our audience to reach their full potential. Once again, thank you so much for joining. We hope you walk away with many fresh insights and career tips. Without taking more of your time, I'd like to invite Mr. Sol Park, Managing Director of KIRA, to introduce tonight's speakers. Please welcome Mr. Park.
Thank you for introducing me, Tara. Hi, I am Sol Park from KITA New York. As you may know, our organization is trying to promote K-startup ecosystem in New York. As a way of that, we prepare this event with Korea Society. I'm excited to present today's four special guests, Dr. David, Ryan, Grace, Jun. First, David is honorable tenure professor at CUNY for more than 25 years. And now he's a startup mentor of Korean government organization, KOSME, and also at CUNY. So he has a lot of experience to foster in K-startups. And nowadays, his research field is AI and data science. And Ryan is the founder and CEO of Kimchi Market. As you know, Kimchi Market is a high-end, high-quality Asian online grocery in New York. And a lot of fine dining restaurants, such as Jang George, sources their ingredients from Kimchi Market. Grace is the strategy director at Momenti. As you may know, Momenti is an interactive media platform company. For example, if I touch a person in the video clip, the person react angry or smile. So it's a very promising technology. So the company value of Momenti is around $100 billion. Finally, Jun is such a genius guy, and he's the co-founder of Culinary Agent, which is the leading career matching platform in the U.S. In the field of food and hospitality. And also, he's the vice president of KSE, Korean Startup and Entrepreneurs. Anyway, welcome everyone again, and I hope today's program will be informative to you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sol, to having a really comprehensive welcome introduction. And thanks everyone to coming, to joining this event tonight. And thanks Korea Society and then KITA to organizing this amazing, fantastic events tonight together. Objective of today's events is, we want to hear from our panelists about the startup journeys, and we're gonna hear about their the insight about their the startup journeys from the beginning. I hope you guys get some insight and key takeaways at the end of the events today. And then after the events, we're gonna have a networking sessions at upstairs, as far as I know. So then we're gonna have more questions, and if you have any questions, you can ask them, at that events as well. Without the further ado, let's just get started, right? And then, as a beginning, can you briefly introduce yourself and then your company? It's a really short, your company, and then mostly I want to hear about how do you actually get the idea to start your business. So, David, you can start from first.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm very honored to be here. I'm currently teaching computer information systems at CUNY, and I taught computer science over 20 years at other various institutions. Um, I guess the 21st century is shaped up by technology. So I had a lot of ideas about, starting up companies, and also through that, I had the chance to meet a lot of similar minds, and I started a company when I graduated from college, and it was interesting experience. After joining this faculty, I have mentored a lot of student startups, and also worked with other agencies to help their startups. So I haven't started a billion-dollar company. However, I helped a lot of companies to be successful, and also learned why some companies are successful and why many startups are failing. So I'd like to share some of that experience today.
Ryan?
Hi all, very nice to meet you all. My name is Ryan from Kimchi Market. We are premium online e-commerce, mostly focusing on grocery items, but also some lifestyle products that we currently building our Korean vertical. So everything is from Korea, and we distribute through our website and to some fine dining restaurants that you might know, and e-commerce and other gourmet retailers. The way that we do create and bring the traffic is not through ads. It was all through the content. So we're very strong on SEO. If you know, it's a search engine optimization. We think about the keywords, and we actually test which keyword bring the traffics, and which one is trendy, which one is most searched. And with that, we write our content, take good photos, videos, and tell the producers stories. So that's how we do, without salesmen, without advertisement. And I started Kimchi Market 4 years ago without any experience, but it was because of the cause, or the driving force for me to start something very different than I used to do, was my recognition as an immigrant identity. So there's a family stories involved. I lost my young uncle. He was only 45 years ago, and he had 2 kids. So I had to be there as the only male adult for them as a family member. And that's when I started really thinking about health and our, consumption and what do you eat. And that's how I started looking for better options. And I realized that there's a lack of access to find quality, better for you quality, or a little bit better Korean food. And, if you expand your perspective, then it's just same for other immigrants. We don't have big family here. So once, your family member is ill, then the other members have to take up a lot on their plate. So we wanted to really bring in direct and share it with our friends and family. And that was 4 years ago. Now we're still growing. And I would like to tell you more about our company's story after the
All right,
session.
sounds great. Grace?
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace, and I'm the Business Strategy Director at Momenti. So I'm here on behalf of my founder and CEO. A little bit about our company. It's very unique. We are a tech content platform company, and we created a new media format. So the best way I can describe it is, so photos are JPEG, right? And videos are MOV. We've created something called GIV, Gesture Interactive Video, and we believe this is the next generation of media format. I'll just show you. It's easier that way. So you can convert. This is one of our basic samples, but any video can be converted into something interactive. There could be multiple outcomes. No application or plugin installation is needed. So I can literally play that on my Apple Watch as well. And our mission is to make this ubiquitous. So it's a very big dream, very innovative company, starting with B2B and advertising and marketing. We're creating digital goods. So imagine like a LeBron James basketball card that's interactive, or like a BTS card where you can high five a BTS member, or like, you know. And we're also preparing B2C application where anyone can easily create their own interactive GIVs. A little background, a little bit about me. I think I like to explain my specialty as organizing chaos. So in the previous to Momenti, I worked at large corporations, but always in a startup-like environment. So for example, at Sony, they were rebuilding the whole MarTech infrastructure. They don't know where to begin. They need to form a new team, so they'll just throw me in there, and then I'll work with specialists and consultants to build that. Or at AWS, innovation team where like a lead of a company would come and they want to redo everything in the cloud space. They don't know where to begin, so they'll just throw me in there. So I think I operated like someone who works at a startup in the corporate world. So that's essentially what I'm doing here as well. The founder and the CEO developed the tech 10 years ago. He, during military service, he came up with this idea. And initially, it was supposed to be for just e-commerce, beauty, marketing. But he had realized he had a bigger vision for making this ubiquitous. 4 years ago, he flew to America because he had a global mission and vision for this. And COVID happened, but we were still able to grow the team. So we have offices in Korea, New York, LA, and Dubai currently.
Oh, it's great. That's an amazing story. Yeah, I know. Like the Momenti recently raised, I think, like $100 million valuation, like a few months ago. I think that is actually next topic that I want to ask you guys about. Like one of the biggest obstacles. So we have idea. Okay, we have idea. Okay, I want to do this business, and then always the first obstacle, for running the startup business is fundraising. So I want to ask, like, very beginning, how do you kickstart? Like because you only have an ideation stage, and then none of the investors is gonna invest your idea initially. So can you share about how do you kickstart your business, and then if you get fundraising, and how do you actually pursue investors to fund to your company? So Grace, you can start first.
Yeah, well, I joined a few years later, right? So Momenti is 4 years old now, but due to COVID, we focused more on further developing our patents. And so I joined after some of the fundraising began. But I could say that Momenti is a little bit, because we're a unique company, we, then despite COVID and the global recession, the reason we were able to get large funding is because I think the passion and the large vision that our co-founders have really attracted unique investors. So our investors look at the long-term vision instead of the revenue money right now. So it's a little bit unique. And a lot of it happened through word of mouth, actually. We have a very strong and diverse advisory team. And, the people who saw our vision knew investors who wanted a big, startups with a big vision. So a lot of it actually happened pretty organically. So it's
like even starting from the beginning, like you have no revenue, you just have an idea, and then investors investing money in.
Yeah, in the beginning, I can't really speak to that because I was not there. But yeah.
So one of the stories for my startup is I'm one of the co-founder for the company, and then our founders, when they started, she actually broke her 401k. So she only has $40,000 in the 401k, and then she broke it. Then she believed that her idea, can help the business, can help the industry. Also, can she has a very strong convictions that she can make money from there. So she broke $40,000 401k, and then she all in for entire her kind of pension life. I think that's what she studied. So Ryan?
Okay. So my kimchi market story is a little bit different than others. I'll say we were lucky enough to start with some money. And that money was not raised from outside. It was from the family. So
Friends and family around.
yes. So we had some money. At the time, in the beginning, it was to run a beef business. And I, living in New York, but I raised cattle in Oregon. And I visited so many places that you have never think of. Like Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado, and Kansas, and I got hurt on a ranch in a Colorado ranch, and I had to wheelchair in, and but I repurposed the money, and I returned the money, and with that money we started Kimchi Market, and e-commerce. Yes, there's a because you have to buy the products. We directly import, so you have to think about, like you have to buy it. And we were not known, and we're in New York, and our producers are in Korea, so we have to pay them first. So we had to have some money and some working capital, and then, but once we bring that in, that we were able to sell and make some profit. So that's how and we ran very lean operation. So that's how we kickstarted the company.
And how's your experience in fundraising, Gustav?
Oh, fundraising. So we're now raising money, and in February, I was in Silicon Valley meeting some investors. But, I share this experience with you. I know everyone is busy, but I think CEO has a lot more sort of areas to cover. And I think you have to be really like CEO, you have to be full-time fundraising. And so far, I have not done that. So it's like, yes, I'm meeting the investors, but at company, like you have other work to do. So it's sort of on and off. And now I'm refocusing on the fundraising. But also, raising money is not everything. You really have to have very convincing and strong business model and thesis. Without that, you will not raise money. And number two, even if you raise money, the prospect it's not always great. So I think we have a good business model that is tested, and now that's why I'm going to talk to give opportunities to investors who can have a better return.
Good luck for your fundraising for that. Yeah, I remember that. So my company also went to Series A funding, and then we have 3 different rounds from the fundraising. And then I remember that we were researching how many venture capitalists in the United States. It's not only for the East Coast, but also West Coast. So we list out everyone, 100. It's actually literally 100 in Excel spreadsheet, 100 rows in Excel spreadsheet. And then we trying to find out the contact informations, as well as anyone who knows this person, wants to introduce. So all the venture capitalists, what they want is just that they want an introduction. They don't want to hear any cold call at all. So their ask for us is, can you find who knows me to having them to introduce me? I think that is the best route you can actually access to the investor. And so we contact not 160, and then we have a list of columns. What's the current status for that, and then we have up to column Q. So some of our venture capitalists, we went to column Q, and then we ended up to get fund the final. I think it took 6 months process for the Series A funding, and then finally get the one of the investors out of hundreds actually leading our companies. So I think the most important one for that is based on my experience, is you need to have a really key, unique selling propositions, especially what kind of problem you want to solve it, and then do you make money, from there? I think you have to make it really clear for that. Okay, so Dr. An, and sometimes I call Dr. An, sometimes I call David. So David, so I'm gonna ask you a little bit more different questions for that, because you have a mentor a lot of young professionals, like since many years ago. And then, like, as a mentor, how do you advise for the fundraising standpoint?
Yeah, before answering that question, I'd like to ask audience, how many of you are already started your company? Raise your hand. Okay, great. How many of you are thinking about starting up company? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. The reason I asked that question is that, every startup's unique and different. And most of the time we think funding is important. But I found out funding is the least important aspect of startup, because unless you fully assess your business model and your startup idea and have a careful planning first, the funding can actually damage you. A lot of young startups, and when they are successful, they try to go out and attract a fund from VCs. Problem is that VCs are investors. So they like to maximize their investment. And what usually happens is that they interfere with every aspect of your business. So I've seen some great ideas actually gone failed because of this constant interruption from the VCs. So let's say you are thinking about starting up your company. Before worrying about funding, I want you to redefine and refine your, the idea, innovative idea, and how are you gonna make value proposition to the market. And secondly, you need to know the market. If you don't know the market, then doesn't matter how much money you have, you're gonna just burn it. So I think today is a very startup friendly environment. If you have a very good innovative idea that could be very successful and impact the future society, my advice is that stop writing the business proposal. Talk to a lot of experts, mentors, experts, and talk to some of the successful entrepreneur and see how they gone through the process, right? And then I would say you start advertising yourself through the social media network, Twitters, YouTube videos, right? So let the people know you and your idea first, then money comes. We used to say, don't chase money, let the money chase you. That's how you can become a very successful businessman. I think that should be the right way to start up your company. So if I tell you this from my own experience. When I graduated from college with two other friends, I'm an electrical engineer, and I was working on networking back in 1990s. And back then, the network was not as fast as you experience today, right? So coming up with new gear and providing broadband services was very important. So one of my colleagues, who is also well-known CUNY professor now, he had an idea of something called ATM. It's not the ATM you know. It's called asynchronous transfer mode. It is a broadband switch platform that we can compete against the Cisco's and others. So we thought that it is a great idea. He knows how to design that switch. I was analyzing and testing switches so I can optimize the performance. And then, we thought that, hey, we can make a great company. Let's do it. So we didn't worry about the fund, but we chip in $10,000 each. And we started the company. But the mistakes we made is that sometimes just forming a company with the friends may not be a good idea, okay? There was another guy who was a mechanical engineer, and he was a very good friend of us. But he's the only one can dedicate full time for this business. So we appoint him as a CEO, and we appoint the other guy as a CTO, and myself as a more of a COO type of thing. So I was involved with completing my PhD work at that time, and the CTO already completed his PhD, and he was teaching at CUNY. The other guy got PhD from mechanical engineering, and he was available full time. So we appoint him as a CEO. The problem is he had a different vision with us, right? And because we studied the company with not a cohesive team, funding was not important because immediately when study the company, a lot of people are interested in us. So they are willing to invest on our company because that technology was unique. But when you cannot dedicate your time full time and you appoint someone who does not share the same vision with you, all of that opportunity gone a couple of years later. So I think there's a lot of funding opportunity. For instance, NSF, they give you $50,000 starting seed money. If you write a proposal, then and winning the proposal, then you can get $50,000 for customer discovery. And they even give you a lot of workshop, training, and expert services. Now, if you are successful about that process, it takes about 2 years. You can apply for something called SBIR, and that gives you anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000. And if you are successful about it, then they can give you up to $1 million to $2 million. So funding is not important, but having the right team and fully assess the business model, I think that is very important.
So from that, the information NIH is gonna give out.
NIH has their own program too, but I think NSF is the one that promote United citizens to start up the company, because this country is run by small businesses like what you are going to do. So they promote, and the entry barrier to get that $50,000 is actually very low today. One of my student group, they got it. The idea was, this AI-based virtual STEM education for K to 12. And the idea was well liked, and they recently got SBIR, $250,000 to go to the next stage. So if you have the right idea, right team, and fully assessed business plan, then funding is not going to be a problem, because there are a lot of people want to invest their money to a good company like next NVIDIA or next OpenAI. So, I mean, even Kita, I'm sure, if you are interested to get some fund, but you have a unique proposition, talk to them. I think they're willing to invest $100,000 right easy, right?
All right, there we go. We have a potential investors right in front of you. All right, so it's really great information, because I didn't know that government is actually funding for the startups.
And also Korean government is big on startup right now. So COSME and other agencies, they're actually competing against each other for the good startups.
Yeah, it's great. So David, you just talking about the earlier failure of your business. I don't know. One of it may be a joke, but a rumor. But you shouldn't start the business with engineers only. that is the shortest path to fail your business. Anyway, so you're talking about the failure. So according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are only there are 33 million small businesses in the United States, and then there are only 20% of a company failed within 1 year. This is the labor statistics, the website. I just get from there as well. And then a little bit under 50% of business can survive for 5 years to stay. Only like a little bit more than 50% of a business can have their 5th year anniversary. So there are a lot of a chance to fail the business, and I'm pretty sure that Ryan and Grace, you may have a moment that, oh my God, like, can I survive this business? And then do you have any really painful moment, any challenges and obstacles, while you're running business? And then how do you overcome those obstacles?
So I just came back from Korea a few days ago. And in Korea, I met many people. And one of them is a CEO of a unicorn and big company. Like, she was on TV and she, everyone praised her company. But when we sat down, I asked her similar question. And she said, yeah, still, like, right now, I still worry about, paying my employees and, marketing. And she deal with a lot of challenges. Same. Young company, we just celebrated our 4th anniversary. So we are in that one of those relatively rare chances. But yes, money is always the problem. And I can tell you more details about how I had to deal with the money issues. Like, one time, bank account was really low, and I had to pay, like, our team members, and I was able to make it, but sometimes you have to deal with this pressure that, or even sometimes fundamental question: are you ready to answer this? And you have to face it, not other people, but you will have to face it and reassure that you are willing to take it and move on. I asked myself at the time, in the low point, okay, maybe I'm the hardest worker in the company, and I'm probably the least paid person in the company. And I'm putting all the money I have back to the company. And I keep thinking about this and why this is not, like, how come we're not better? And challenges. Like, I ask, people around, close advisors, they give you sometimes very, you face the, moment of truth, but you accept it. Now, how you deal with it? Is that okay, I lost the hope and this is maybe not working? Or is that something that, every organization has its challenges, and are you going to overcome it? So I took the latter path, and yeah, there were a few moments that I personally was really down, but I'm glad that I stood up and now welcome more challenges.
Do you have any moment that how you can stand up again?
How I stand up again. I think that, people have different personalities, right? And I think I should plan more, but I just have this optimism that, looking at my life in the back, in the past, there were like big moments. Oh, like, how do I deal with this? But, literally, it was like almost a life and death situation to me. But time passed, I look back, there was nothing. And I'm here. And those things, troubles, challenges, at some point will be a past. So that's how, things will be better. And I just, went to bed and have good sleep and wake up, then just move on.
Yeah, you must be a great CEO. Because like normally, I strongly suggest to have like co-founders, at least, one or two, and then CEO is normally stay as an optimist about the business, and then normally COO or CTO is a very pessimist about the business, and then they constantly arguing each other and discussing, and then get some really great outcome for this. So you must be a great CEO, for that. All right, Grace,
Yeah. So you mentioned that,
how do you
such large-
overcome? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we focus on two things, right, that can lead us to, potential failure, right? Number one is like market relevance, and number two is separating emotional attachment to your product or your company to really being more business minded. So with the first, right, market relevance, very important for us. You can either be too ahead of the game, right? You're starting way too early. And that's one of the reasons why our CEO waited a few years, right? And or you're behind the market, right? There's other competitors who's offering something similar or better. And with interactivity and AI up and rising, we're really mindful of that. And so we're speeding through. But, just monitoring the timing and the market relevance is very important, and adapting. And actually for us, COVID was a blessing in disguise, even though it was one of our biggest challenges, because it actually made us more market relevant, because after COVID, everyone went to their phones, right? So e-commerce and I think also people started to value more of a personal experience than just linear video. And secondly, I think the emotional attachment part, it's funny you say, never start a business with all engineers. We started with all engineers. So sometimes there are moments where you're so attached and you're developing a lot further than you should, or there's a clear direction on what brings the money in, but then the engineers kind of want to stray away from that. But I think we keep each other in check, and our advisors help us with that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, me as an engineer as well. Like I'm the guy. Always make the perfect platform, but that's always wrong approach. There's no such thing as a perfect platform. All right. So David, so you've been advising a lot of companies. So like I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of companies has been really successful, and then a lot of company has been failed. Do you have any like different aspect of between those two?
Yes. I think I briefly mentioned that every startup has their own characteristic. So they are unique and different. But I'm going to only talk about those startup already went to like 1 year in operation or 2 years in operation. I'm not talking about those people who has great ideas and about to engage with forming a company and things like that. Okay. So when I see those like early stage startup and doing well, again, they have a great CEO, and CEO knows the market. Like you said, engineers come up with a terrific product, new technology, but they think their product is the best, right? And they do not come up with a so-called product market fit. Yeah. Product market fit refers to a product or services that is validated by the customers. So, you can claim your product is the best to everybody, but if they don't understand your product, well, they don't validate your product to be useful for making their money, right? They need to generate a profit as well using our services and product. It's not going to work. So I think you need to know the market. And second is timing. There's nothing more important than timing. Because, for instance, do you think that those AI companies getting a lot of fun today, they just started it because they heard about ChatGPT is great and sensational? No, actually, they started about 3 or 4 years ago. They spot the trend and they became an early mover, right? So when one thing pops up and becomes sensationally popular, they are getting the benefit of the market trend. So if you have a sensational idea and it's going to change the whole world, but if you brought in that AI concept 20 years ago, probably your company would have failed, even though you had a terrific idea, right? But if you have a terrific idea working on any AI project that can embed ChatGPT today, then you can immediately release the product and you may attract a lot of fund. So I would say know the market and also always look for the good timing.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree with it because just be honest. I started the AI company back to 2012 with my own seed money. It was like like I said, to find the objects within the image. There are no such things about deep learning at the point. And then like we trying to find the images, the products in the images, and then in the marketplaces. So like there's a lot of products right now out there, but like we spent a lot of money because it's like returnable investment cannot be cannot be met, from that AI technology. So I think the timing was too early for me. So I have some painful experience there as well. All right. So then David. So let's continue. So like you advise a lot of case startups as well, and then do you see any like strengths and weakness for the case startup compared to any other startups in the United States?
I think the startup idea is recently popular among Korean startup companies. They had an idea about starting up, but they didn't know how to proceed with the proper business process. So many times I found some startups applying to COSME because Korean government give them $100,000 to start up the fund. So some of them actually go for that money and use that fund for their living, bread and butters. Okay, and those startups are very dangerous. Second type of startup was they had a good idea, and again they didn't check the market or trend or anything. They just thought this is good idea and it's gonna do well. And unfortunate thing is this: they don't know the market and they don't know the growth prospect of their company. But this guy is working round the clock. And I, as a mentor, see that they have a certain capacity, how much they can reach up to, right? So, I think if we could have just make a little bit of pivoting to different idea that could have a network effect, then the company could have grown. But this poor guy was keep on insisting on that particular idea and business. One idea is that they came up with touching lamp, but the CEO is expert on lights and colors, and there are a good portion of unique community that they always feel that certain color dictates their daily lives. I don't know if you heard about it, but some people are quite unique about wearing dresses or turning particular color of light. So he was penetrating the market, and there's a global demand for that. However, there's a capacity because not everybody like that, right? And he was working around the clock and just trying to make some limited market to grow, and that's very difficult. So I think the K startups are good, but they need to know global market trend and also their global customers. And now I feel that younger generation is more. I think their ideas are having a more potential to grow because through this K-pop and K-wave phenomena, people are actually coming to Korea or follow some of the Korean guys do So the cultural gap has been narrowed down, and I think this will give K startup great opportunity because to me, there's a two characteristic I identify. Koreans are very financial literate. They know how to deal with the finance. You talk to a cab driver, they know everything about investment, right? In Korea.
Bitcoin
And,
as well.
and second thing is they are smart because their parents spend a lot of money for their education. So they have a good education background and they are smart and they used to do not know the global market. But today, with this K culture and K wave, through like BTS and others, a lot of global citizens are paying attention to K culture. So they know how to leverage and monetize that, and I'm happy to see that. But as far as going to like unique startups such as technological companies or pharmaceutical companies, they still need to understand the global market.
Yeah, I agree as well. So one of the advice I normally give to the Korean startup, like it's not in the United States, but like from Korea to like introduce their product in the United States. So the first things I ask them is to make them localize a product for the United States only, because it's just don't bring itself like into the United States, and then most of the cases it doesn't actually have a good product market fit in the United States. So Grace, I think you have a working experience in the U.S. company, and then right now you're working at the Korean companies. Do you see any differences?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
many. I was gonna say, well, the advantage of a K-Star is, I agree with you. I think it's a really great era to be Korean right now, right? Like Korean food's popular, music's popular, film, and tech as well. So I think there is a differentiator right now, and we are getting some attention. I think the difficult part is there's Korean generalizing Koreans like familiarity, and because of COVID, most of our founding engineers, like 20 to 30 people, are in the Korean office, and our CEO is Korean. Our co-founder is more American, and right now we have hired 20 non-Koreans. So it's a mixture of both cultures, and there are certain things that work well in Korea that doesn't fly here, and vice versa. So we're constantly fighting the cultural differences and decision differences and stuff, but and that's difficult. And also we have to think about reverse diversity and inclusion. Like, how do I, have these Americans and white people feel included, right? It's something I never had to think about before. But I think one thing we're doing is we're deliberately placing non-Koreans in leadership positions. So even though some of the leaders can't communicate, or we make that happen. So our global team meetings are Konglish. Like some people speak in Korean and we translate live. Some people speak in English, but so we're trying to overcome that through being uncomfortable.
Yeah, the Konglish is the Korean English.
Yeah.
Only Korean understand. There's no. All right, it's great. Yeah. So finally, I think I think Ryan, if you have any advice to the young professional, and then any potential future entrepreneurs who wants to start the business, and then do you have any advice to them?
I think these three great people already shared the tips. But my experience, because I, met recently many people, including entrepreneurs, successful startup people, failed startup people, and strategic investors, and professionals. And the bottom line is this. Besides passion, besides your interest, are you sure that there's a market? And if you think there's a market, how do you test it? So you have to know there's a market for the service or product. That's it. And second, how are you going to distribute? how are you going to sell? So a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to make a product and it will sell. Well, logically, that's not the case, but still, a lot of people follow that, fall into that trap. So I advise that if you make a product, then use about 50% of your energy and resources and time on making them, and the other 50% has to be about how you are going to sell it. That's the key. Otherwise, you have a product, you already invested money, and it's not selling, but there's a recurring costs, expenses. You will be out of money. Then company out of money, then you fail. So that's my advice.
Yeah, it's great advice. Yeah. So typically, when you have a pitch deck, there are normally have 7 different features you need to include it. The very first one is what kind of problem you want to solve it. That has to be crystal clear that there's a market problem exists, and then that problem is large enough. Venture capital looking for $1 billion and above the market size. And then as long as you have a solution for the market problem, solving the market problem, I think that's what you align with the pitch deck that venture capital is looking for. So thanks for that, David.
Yeah, my advice to you is this again. Look at your situation and assess your business model. Okay, and if you are married, and if you have to support your family, then that could be a big obstacle, okay? Unless your spouse can bring bread and butter for the family and you can focus on your venture business, right?
That's best case.
That was my case. I married too young. I married when I was 23 because I met this wonderful woman. I can admit, and
She's watching.
and she's still most wonderful woman to me, and that's great. However, life is trade-off. If you gain one thing, you are going to lose another thing. You cannot have them both. Okay, so I chose my family over my venture ideas, and that's why I joined academia and became a faculty member and helping other people what I think it is right way to do it. But there are some people delaying their marriage and they dedicate their focus on deploying their business ideas. That's great. And what they need to do is make an assessment whether this is going to lead to what your ultimate goal is. If you think just making billions of dollars and become famous person, I don't think that's gonna last well. Okay, so I would say make a full assessment now and see what kind of situation you are in, and always have an exit plan. You don't have to be a hero, okay? Like you mentioned, I just lost my mom and dad who are great businessmen and women. But when they go home, they didn't bring anything with them. I found, wow, this is what people used to tell me about, okay? When it's time to go, you don't take anything with you, right? So if you studied a company, and let's say you studied a company great like an Apple, okay? Well, will that company leave legacy to the future generation? Is that your goal for your life? Then do it, right? But if you think, if you are just going after being rich and money, then I think there are other means, other ways to do, make money much easier while keeping other things for your life. Okay, so startup is not for everybody. And remember, you must know life is trade-off. So if you choose startup, then you might have to give up a lot of different things. Is it worth it? Let's make an assessment. And if you think it is a great idea and worth it, and it's gonna positively impact future generation, then I think you should go for it. That's my advice.
Great advice. Grace?
I guess I'll approach it from the perspective of someone who is younger in a leadership position at a startup, also a female. There's a lot of imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
right? And having to run a company, because I'm one of the youngest in a leadership position, right? I guess so. My more practical advice is fall on your face a few times and like deliberately just do things and always ask for forgiveness later. That's what my mentors tell me. And I think that gave me a lot of confidence. Like falling on my face will equip me and give me confidence to lead. So I think that would be my practical advice. Yeah.
This is really appreciate for your great advice for that. I think we're gonna move on to the Q&A session. But like before we open up the Q&A from to the audience, I think we already received a few questions prior to the events. So I have like 3 or 4 questions, but like some of them we already covered. So I'm gonna ask only 3 questions out there. So great. So you just mentioned about you have engineers and trainees in Korea, and then one of the questions is we have it is how do you find the right people, especially for the engineers?
I think we've already set the bar pretty high, and the reason why we were able to attract a lot of engineers quickly is we have 15 patented technologies, and it's very unique. So our founding engineers were pretty solid. So I think a lot of people came for mentorship, and we've kind of created a community where you can kind of learn and grow. And engineers are always excited by things like this has never been done before. I'm problem solving all the time, right? So I think, yeah.
Do you foresee like their like career growth, or because it's a lot of engineers actually like making a lot of money because it's they're a little bit high paying like team member. Like do you kind of foresee like looking for engineers to have a more like career growth on your company, or they're more like looking for, I don't know, like what kind, do you have any criteria as you're looking at it?
We focus very much on people believing in the vision, and more than the money, they really see value in the our large vision, and they just want to learn and do cool stuff. It's been tricky with New York because it's so expensive. Engineers are so expensive here, so we always balance it purposely with options to make sure they have the interest more than
enough
the money.
interest to join the company.
Yeah.
So there's like the brand marketing aspect that you spend a lot of time for
Yes.
that. Okay, then how do you establish brand and extend relationship with the respective customers? I think Ryan, that's a question to you.
So in our case, Kimchi Market, we are e-commerce, and we haven't met our customers and our users. And you think about how the customers will perceive us and what medium. So we focused on being very honest and sincere. In 2020,
Time's up.
Oh,
It works.
okay. Stay here. So one example. So in 2020, can you hear me? So in 2020, when COVID hit, everyone in my company worked from home. But we had more orders, and someone had to fulfill them. So it was Ryan Kim. And so I received one day, crazy day. We had a container just arrived from Korea, and I opened it. And first time in my life, I had to use the pallet jack and then pull all those things into our warehouse by myself.
How many pallets did you receive?
That time, I think 10. And it's not electric. Like you have to manually pull. So I did it. And like I updated the quantities. Like I had to run because as soon as we updated the quantity, order starts just pouring in. So we had to do it. And I think either I think it was me then. We made a mistake. And I think it was more than a mistake. So one customer ordered something, I gave her one more product because it was Best Buy date was approaching, but it was our responsibility of telling the customer about the producer. That was our obligation. So she sent a complaining email. Why you gave me this? Do you want me to trash this? Did you want it to what? You didn't want to basically just send me this so that I trash it for you? And that email was painful, but I spent more than 1 hour to write back to her. And I told her why we did this and why we gave her this product at our own shipping cost, right? That's weight. And maybe that was convincing. So she replied back. She said, "Oh, it seems like you guys have a very high pride. So I'll try again later." And then about 2 months later, she sent me an email to me, my work email, and said, "Oh, I ordered again. I was very happy." So she posted her story as some mom's group. Then here's the thing. You don't see that customer, but they can tell you by how you treat them, how you see them, how you perceive your users. Are they the ones that giving you just money, or is that the people that you want to grow community with? So that was our philosophy. And I think that sincere mind and heart, especially caring about people's health and then caring about the producer. I think that was the distinguishing factor that we had. And I think that's why we've been sort of still enjoying the steady growth.
Yeah, that's why you have a really high organic growth rate right now. All right, David, this is a final question. What is your most exciting moment, when you like mentoring your startups?
Well, obviously, when my mentees become successful and growing, that's priceless experience. But I also felt good when I saw there's a problem with the startup, and I can detect it early and give them, pivots, how they can change their model so they don't have to go through painful future, and when they come back and say that was a right call and appreciate it, those are the exciting moments that I mentored some startup
Oh, it's great.
mentees.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a really hard to get advice normally, because pivoting the business is always painful in any cases. All right, it's great. Ryan, thank you. David, Ryan, Grace, for your great advice. Right now, I'm gonna open up the floor to the questions. If you have any question to the panelists, Mike, do you have any question? All right.
Thank you guys for having me and being a great panelist. I actually have a question for Ryan. You mentioned about you got hurt at a ranch, visiting a ranch. I would like to hear some stories about how you got hurt and what happened there. Thank you.
Okay, so I was on a ranch in Colorado looking for good ranch and good cattle. And I was on a horse. I think I was taking sort of a video, so don't take the video when you're on a horse. And I fell wrong. So my left knee, I think MCL and PCL, got almost broken. I heard the pop sound.
Oh.
And I fell, and then I was with the cowboys, and they asked me like, "Ryan, did you hear the pop? Did you hear the pop?" I said, "Yeah." And then, oh shoot! And then, they took me to the hospital, and I had to end the trip. That during the trip, I think still now kimchi market, finding the producer is not someone that you buy from the products from to resell. They are the partners. They are the ones who make the ones that you are going to tell very proudly to tell your members of your community. So yes, I was on the ranch and I got hurt.
All right, we have one more question. Okay. Yeah.
So I think we can all agree that starting a company is no smooth sailing journey, right? There's a lot of hurdles. It's going to be a slow burn in the beginning. At what point is the slow burn? It's because it's not working / your messaging is off, or is it just part of the process and you just continue to be resilient and move forward? I would love to get your guys' thoughts.
I think that's an excellent question. Especially when your expectation is not met, right? You thought providing this kind of product and services, you expect this much gain or return from the customer. That's not coming, and you kind of doubt whether you are in the right business or not. And this is why I think you need to be constantly monitoring market trend, because I'm in technology area, and we used to have Moore's generation. Every 18 months we got new product and new technology coming in, right? So and when they introduce new product, culture is a bit changing. For instance, Apple recently launched the Vision Pro, and a lot of people think that's a $3,500 goggle that's gonna fail. Well, I think the Apple's market share and their follow throughs, it will change the future way of communication and how we entertain ourselves, right? There's no doubt about that. And now the Facebook is pushing on metaverse. So if your product and services has a plan for such technology or cultural changes, then I think it is just one of the frictions that or challenges that you have to go through, and be patient, because the payday will coming soon, right? So it is just a dipping point that you have to struggle, and you can talk to other experts and friends so you can get help to overcome it. But if you think this thing is not you originally had a vision, but when you implemented it, it is not really things that you originally perceived, then I think you should pivot to something else, because there are a lot of opportunities. That particular idea, that particular vision doesn't have to be the only one, and we have only 80, 90 years of time, right? So why do we waste our time for one particular idea and insistent about it? You don't have to be stubborn. You have to be flexible and always be ready to pivot. And then market usually reward those humble ones than stubborn ones. That's how I see it.
My investor had exact same feedback, which is they are looking for the CEO who are humble and ready to listen to them, especially for the board of directors, because it's 95% of businesses, like they're pivoting their business model, and then a lot of CEOs is really struggle to changing their vision, because they're changing the vision sometimes. So like CEO has to be, I think, it's better to be humble than they listen to somebody else. I think because there are a lot of great advisors out there, and then you can ask them for the advice. Not sure if you can have one more question.
I have a challenge, not a challenge. I have a question for Grace. Yeah, so as you mentioned, as company grows, you also has growth pain. For example, you first start as a Korean, very nimble and speedy team. Now you have to have more talent, diverse talents, not just Korean, like Europeans, Americans. So having fast growing, diverse team, what are the challenges you have as a K startup?
Um, Communication for sure, because a lot of the discussions, especially with leadership, either I have to play middleman or they're trying to converse, but there's things that are broken in translation. I would say is the most difficult. So I think just finding a way to have everyone looking in the same direction, and kind of reiterating the strategy and the direction going forward, I think is how we try to overcome that. We try to emphasize a lot in like our culture. We have things like new experiences. So we try to get people, because with cultural barriers and communication barriers, it'll be an ongoing struggle. So we try to just get people excited about the vision, and then just like the culture and the team itself, and kind of do like an open door policy. So if anything is frustrating, there's always someone they can talk to. We're also speaking to professionals who will come in and kind of study the culture, and it's also a case study for them, this reverse diversity, so they feel like we're doing everything that we can to make them feel more included and respected. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah.
So I completely agree. And in reality, even if your team is small, you have to ensure that people know that the mission, and people know, you have to actually have a private conversation with them. Because when you talk with them in person, like face to face, in person, one to one, and they will give you different answers when you ask about the company's vision and mission. So without this like same view, people will react or behave or respond differently to external factors. So completely agree, but in reality, you have to check constantly.
80% of errors and product failure is because of miscommunication. So yeah, I 100% agree with your point. All right, so more questions is on at the networking session. We have beautiful wines and beers, and then we have a food over there. And then I'd like to give a big applause to panelists, David, Ryan, and Grace.
I'm just curious, at what stage starts the extortion from the accounting companies, like, to follow compliance with US regulation? Because it's a huge...
Oh, you have to from the beginning. I think that's the most important. One of our biggest barriers is not following the compliance.
No, but it's very expensive.
ChatGPT. ChatGPT is pretty good. You can save a lot of money with that.
Yeah, if you have a like experienced CTO especially, and then they normally know how to get the compliance issues, because I'm also dealing with like SOC 2, SOC 2 type of a compliance as well. And then I have to spend like 50% of my time focusing on the get the SOC 2 compliance, and then that is a requirement. It takes some time. Spend some time, but if you didn't follow your return, the potential, the failure of the business is really, really high. So I strongly recommend to follow all the compliances out there, especially the security and the privacy policy side. Yeah, it is really important. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for all the great questions and answers. It was an amazing discussion. Thank you so much. So before we move on, I'd like to bring to your attention that our membership is always welcome. Anyone interested in joining the Korea Society or supporting us, please refer to the booklet by each of your chairs, or always feel free to ask questions to Jamie Ju, our development program associate. Now that we have about an hour left, I'd like to invite everyone to join networking session. As Mr. Yoon mentioned, there are refreshments and snacks ready as well, so please feel free to help yourselves. Please enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.